Okay, so we're going to look at the top navigation again. So we did look at this briefly when you were creating your own workspace. And like I mentioned then, they're not really applicable unless you have a classroom assigned to the workspace. So now that we do, we're going to look at these different tabs. So here I have this workspace that I'm building. I have a class assigned to it. So I have the Tapson is Awesome class, and I have 4 students now in this class. 3 of my own children and 1 niece. And in this, I have assigned, I'm pretending this is a poetry unit, and I've assigned some poem options here. So I have 3 assignments that I have. If I were building this further, I would probably have in some information and resources, things they can go through talking about a haiku or different types of poetry. Okay, so I wanted to first look at the Students and Group tab. So I'm going to click on the Students and Groups because obviously the Workplace tab is what I'm in. It's where you do all of your work building the workspace. Now I'm going to go to the Students and Groups. Okay, so here I have the list of my students. I have this one group here, and in this group I have the 4 members because that's basically my whole class. Now, I really want to be able to differentiate my activity and my unit. So I want to assign the assignments to specific students because the assignments are tiered, and I want to make sure that they're all able to work at their own ability levels. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to just call this Poetry 1. Save. I'm going to create another group here. I'm going to call this Poetry 2. Now, remember that students can see the group names. So you don't want to be calling them the low, well, you shouldn't anyway, but the low group or the high group or something. Just be cautious of the names that you're choosing because they can't see their group names. So Poetry 2, next. And then I'm going to add one more group because I think I'm going to have 3. And we'll just call this one Poetry 3. And there. So now I have these 3 groups, and I'm going to arrange my students into them. So in Poetry 1 group, I actually only want to have Hannah in this group. So there's my student there. Hannah's actually in grade 12, so I put her in that one all by herself. Poetry 2, I think I'm going to put Andrew and Bella in that group. Now they're both in grade 7, so they're going to work on that one. And then Marcus, I'm going to put in my Poetry 3 group. He's grade 6. So there I have my 3 groups. Now if I go back to my workspace and I go to my assignments here. So this poetry analysis, grade 12, I'm going to edit this. Right now, it's all 3 of my groups are being assigned this. I want to edit it so that only Hannah's group, which was the Poetry 1, is being assigned. So I'm going to unselect those. Just click out here. Now I have just the one group I can see has been assigned. The limerick writing, I'm going to edit this, and I just want the group that Andrew and Bella are in, and that was group 2. So I'm going to do that, and so now I have Poetry 2. And the last one, writing a haiku, I'm going to edit that, and I just want Marcus's group doing that one, and he was Poetry 3. You can see there. So now I've done that, and those assignments are now assigned to those individual students. Okay, so now that I've assigned those and actually Marcus has gone in and he has done that. So I can actually gone in and done the assignment. So I can go down and I see that, okay, the poetry analysis, I have 0 started, 0 submitted. Same with here, 0 started, 0 submitted. But I see here, okay, I have 1 submitted. So I have the option, I can click directly on this submitted one. And what happens is that I have it come up here. So I see that Marcus Tapson has submitted it. I can click directly on it and it'll take me to what he's done. So there I see, and I'm like, oh, well, I didn't ask him to write one. He just copy and pasted one. So I see, okay, well, that's been done there. So I'll go back and I'll say, okay, not ready to really return it yet. But you know what? I don't want him to just copy and paste. I want him to actually write one. So I'm going to return to edit. So I return to edit, and you see that it's changed here now from submitted to started. Okay. So that's really a great way that works there. Now, going back up here, we already looked at the students of groups where I assign those groups, but let's go to the activity summary tab. And here in the activity summary tab, you can see that if any of those assignments that I had assigned were overdue and not done, those would come up right here. Learner activity, you can see that I have, okay, the learner group poetry 1, Marcus was last active 2 minutes 31 seconds ago, so worked on that. I can see these two have been assigned it, but 5 hours ago was the last time they were active on the computer, and they have not started them yet. Submitted evidence. Now, had I not returned that to edit, Marcus's one that he submitted would have come up here. But now that I've returned it to edit again, it's still not there, so we have nothing submitted. And then I can see the process that's been followed. I can see that in the evidence activity, well, Marcus did start at 3 minutes, 35 seconds ago, submitted it 3 minutes, 35 seconds. So it took him about 35 seconds to do that little assignment. And then I returned it to edit 1 minute, 30 seconds ago. So it gives you a really nice timeline there that you're really able to see when things are started, how long they were worked on, and that kind of stuff. And that's really good feedback for you as a teacher to help guide your learners. So that's the activity summary. It just gives a summary of the activity that's been done on your evidence assessments in the workspace. Individual activity, when I click on that, that's going to show me the individual work that each student is doing. So you'll have a student tile. Each kid will have one. So I have no activity found for these 3 because they have yet to do them. And then I have for Marcus here that the same thing. So he started writing it, and then I can see that I returned it. And just by clicking on it, I can get, or hovering above it, I can get a little bit of information about what the assignment is and a little view of it as well. So I can click on one of these and I can open the assignment directly from here if I wanted to. I can go ahead there, and it's open. Probably a good practice when I returned it would have been to comment on here and to say, you know, please write one as well as give an example. So comment, I can do that, and he could be able to look at it. I can also email a student directly, which is nice. So I might say, Andrew, I'm going to email you directly, and I want to remind you to get started on this. Okay, so that's those 3 tabs up there. I hope you have a chance to really explore them. There's lots that they can do in there. In the additional information column, you can find more information about like using the grade sheet and a lot more about the submitted evidence and how that can support you as a teacher.